When you have days like that, you have a couple knockdowns through the day and to fight back and find yourself in victory lane, those definitely are very gratifying. Consistency matters more. The first 26 races are incredibly important in your seeding for the chase.
Welcome into the Victory Lap. I'm Kaitlyn Vincie here with Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour. And so good to have Ryan Blaney, the big Phoenix winner, joining us on the program. And Ryan, with everything that you and your team faced in that race, would you feel like this is maybe one of the more hard-fought wins in your career?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. That's for sure. We did a great job of overcoming some of our mistakes and issues. So I'm really proud of that. And we just persevered through the whole day, and if we did have a problem, right, it's just we focused on what's the next task that we have to accomplish, so I was really proud of everybody for having that mindset. And that's a great mindset that we have with this 12 team. And, everyone's going to make mistakes, but it's how do you learn from them and how do you move on? And, we had a fast enough car to make up a lot of it and find ourselves in position and in the game towards the end of the race to, take two tires, and that was a great call by Jonathan, and it allowed us, to get the lead here on the restart, like you're seeing, and then hold off the 20 car who was really coming on four tires there at the end of the race. But yeah, definitely a day when you have days like that kind of you have a couple knockdowns through the day and to fight back and find yourself in victory lane. Those definitely are very gratifying, I feel like, for your whole group.
I was going to say, how does that speak to the strength of the team and just the depth of the team that you have when you can overcome those types of things?
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky to be with such a great group of people, and that's what this whole sport is the people. And I've been really fortunate to have been surrounded by really hard workers, people who share the same mindsets, across the board. And we've built that community up, with everybody. Jonathan's done an amazing job of putting this amazing group of folks together that want to work hard and get through the hard times together and enjoy the good times as well. So it's a fun community that we've built over here, not only at our 12 group, but all of Team Penske. And it's fun to go to battle with those guys every week.
You mentioned Jonathan, your crew chief, several times, obviously had the correct strategy call in the end. What kind of an asset do you feel like he has been to your career in the program?
Oh, I've had an absolute blast working with Jonathan, since 2022. And it's hard to believe it's been, 22, 23, 24, 25, we're in our fifth year together. It's hard to believe that, it's just because it feels like just yesterday, we started working together, and we've been able to do some really great things together. He's such a hard worker, incredibly smart human being, and is just becoming this, he already is, but I feel like every single day he becomes more and more of an amazing leader as well, and so I've been, like I said before, I'm really lucky to be surrounded by great people, and Jonathan's at the pinnacle of it. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun with him, and I couldn't ask for anybody else. He's such a good, not only good crew chief, but such a great human being as well. And that stuff's pretty fun when you have those similarities.
Yes, you seem like a great pairing together. So this race, in terms of what we saw with the tires, strategy at the end, was it about what you anticipated it was going to be?
Honestly, yeah, I thought it was a great race. Like, the increased horsepower. I'm going to say this was our first like oval with increased horsepower. I'm not going to count Bowman Gray just because you barely get wide open there. But I thought it was awesome. Like, you could really make your rear tires angry if you weren't conscious of how you were kind of running them early on. And I think that's good. That's when you see big comers and goers and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I thought it was a great race. The track getting really hot and slick yesterday, I thought it really opened up a ton of lanes. That's the highest we've run in 3 and 4 in a handful of years. So I thought it just opened up the track a little bit, and that's always good when the track gets pretty wide and everyone's slipping around. That's always makes for a good race.
hmm Well, you certainly were able to capitalize. And your post-race interview, you mentioned winning feels different as a dad. You have since returned home to Charlotte and seen your family. What was that moment like?
Yeah, it was. They were all sleeping when I got home, but yeah, it definitely hits different. Yeah, like I said yesterday, winning is great, and that's what we're doing this for, is the win. And all those emotions you go through. But, and then coming home to your family, like that's even better, and it's something I've been lucky enough to experience. And first time win as a dad is always pretty cool, even though Charlie has no idea what's going on. Uh, I remember I'll show him when he's older, like, hey, bud, this was the first one that your dad won, when ever since I had you. So yeah, it's just fun memories, fun moments. It was awesome to, see them
Mhm.
this morning when everybody woke up, and yeah, that's great. So I hope, we're able to win with, Gianna and Charlie at the racetrack, and that's going to be a fun family picture in victory lane.
Charlie's got a cool dad, that's for sure. So big picture this season, you've led laps in every race. Where do you feel like your team is at, just kind of as a whole? I know it's still early, but where do you feel you guys are at?
Yeah, I feel like we're in a great spot. I going into the year, the first three races are all kind of, you never know what can happen, right? You have two super speedways with Daytona and Atlanta, and then a road course at Coda, which, I mean, we're familiar with all those tracks, but I guess we could, it's a little funky. You just never know where you're going to, pan out at the end of them. And I think one of our biggest things that Jonathan and I talked about before the year was just not putting ourselves in a hole, the first 3 weeks of the year. And we didn't finish Daytona, but then I thought we put together really good weekends and finishes at Atlanta and Coda, and then obviously this weekend. So I think we're firing on all cylinders. I love where our speed this weekend was really good, and look forward to seeing where we're at Vegas this upcoming
Mhm.
weekend. Kind of our first intermediate mile-and-a-half track, and then we'll get a really good idea. So proud of the effort so far. Just got to keep going though. Can never get stagnant. You're always trying to learn every single weekend, no matter how it's going.
You mentioned the mile and a half, first one we're going to in just a few days at Las Vegas. But what is challenging about it? I mean, mile and a halves all have their unique elements to them. What is tough about Vegas?
Yeah, I think the few things we look at going there is obviously like the tunnel bump in 1 and 2 is pretty large, and that's how do you make it over that. The high temperatures there, it's going to be really hot in Vegas this weekend, so track's going to get slick. And then like the wind is always a pretty big factor there, which is not much you can do about that, but you just always
Mhm.
have to prepare for it. But yeah, I think that the tunnel bump is something that's always on people's minds. How can we get over this bump and efficiently enough? But then how do we also get through turns 3 and 4, which is pretty smooth? Like, so there's always that little bit of a cat and mouse game with your setup of, do you kind of completely just look at 1 and 2 and try to get over the bump good and just live over 3 and 4, or is it going to be vice versa? So those are always the challenges when we get out there.
So you're in a good position in terms of the points, but ever since NASCAR announced we were going back to the old type of format, how does the mentality change as a driver to this more orthodox way of going after a championship?
Yeah, I mean, the goal every week is to win races and finish as good as you can. Like, so I don't like that mindset doesn't change, but I feel like there is more thoughts in the back of your mind of, not wanting to throw away a bunch of points, right? Whether that's, and I said this earlier, like before the season started, like bad days are going to hurt even worse in this points format, because now you have to make up, that much more, no more winning you're in type thing. You can't lay back on that. Like, winning is a lot of points, but like you're not guaranteed a spot in the chase if you've won a race. So I think it's just consistency matters more, which I think is good. I think that's the way it should be. Um, so yeah, I find myself looking at the points more often than what I did in prior years, just because, you're always curious of where you're at, because the first 26 races are incredibly important in your seating for the chase. So I like to say it hasn't really changed our minds that much, but there's always that little inkling in the back of your mind that, like, man, just don't want to have a bad day here. And I think everyone's mindset's that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're certainly in a good position to start the year. So the final question I have for you is just a banner weekend for Team Penske overall, what that was like being a part of the double out there in Phoenix, and what this organization means to you and what it's like to be a part of those huge moments for that company.
Yeah. I mean, we couldn't have drawn up a better weekend at Phoenix. It was really great having the Indy cars there. I'm a big fan of IndyCar racing. Obviously with the team that we have here. You know, I cheer on Scotty and Joseph and David. You know, I pull for those guys. I want those guys to do well, and it goes both ways, right? I had a I had a blast. I just walked around the grid on Saturday before the race and talked to those three guys, talked to their teams, and got to be a huge race fan with a team that I am like really pulling for. So that was a lot of fun, and getting to watch the IndyCar race with Roger up in the suite. You know, there wasn't a lot of banter going on. He's on the radio, like he's listening to everything that's going on, and stuff like that. So it's just neat to see his involvement in it firsthand. And then for all those guys to stick around for Sunday and cheer us on was great. I think it just speaks on the team that we have here. You know, no matter what series you're in, you're always pulling for each other and supporting each other. And we are one big Team Penske. So awesome weekend. Swept both poles, got both wins. Joseph definitely put the pressure on us winning Saturday. That's for sure. But luckily we were able to do it, and to have Roger there just makes it even more special.
Yeah, great weekend overall for Team Penske. Ryan, always nice to hear from you. Congratulations on the Phoenix win, and best of luck to you in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kaitlyn.